Why the hell is it called Bigfoot? It hasn't got any feet. It should be called No Feet. Or you can call it Fat Wheels or Chungus Tyres. At this point, I don't understand. Already, I've just started this video and I feel that my relationship with Acclaim's Bigfoot on the NES is already on rocky ground. I can't live with these lies. I'm going back to the ex-wife. I'm sorry, Acclaim's Bigfoot on the NES. I don't think it's going to work out. So yes, Bigfoot is about a truck as monstrous as its name suggests. And for a while, it was really, really famous. It is the original monster truck, a 1974 Ford F250, which has so much work done, even the Bride of Wildenstein thinks it's gone too far. It was modified by a former construction worker in his spare time, and his name was Bob Chandler. Bob began changing elements of the vehicle, replacing the underassembly with that of a military surplus top loader that utilised 48-inch tyres. And boys, even middle-aged boys, like showing off their toys. So what he did was he used to get fields and he used to pull tractors with this device and then crush broken down cars, which started to get some media attention. It wasn't too long before he started crushing shagged motors in the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan in exchange for big ticket sales. So the man's project went, within 6 years, from being just a little funny side project to being a lucrative money spinner. And yes, I'm sure most of the appeal was with mostly yee-haw, Trump-voting good old boys. God bless America, and eating buckshot-ridden raccoon carcasses. Many mechanically minded truck owners across the states began seeing the potential for a big dollar in the souped-up, huge-tired truck market, and a million old bangers pissed oil in fear of Chandler and his mates. Chandler got very competitive as mechanics across America began Frankensteining their utility vehicles to have big old round tyres, some bigger than that of Bigfoot's. So Bob made further iterations of the vehicle, with the tyres getting bigger and bigger each time. The Bigfoot 5 used 10-foot tall tyres. How ridiculous. A lot of the fame came from nascent sports channel ESPN looking for content in the mid-1980s. Monster truck events brought them huge early success, and so Bigfoot started to get a huge national and international audience. Bigfoot, the OG of mutant monster trucks, was by far the most successful of the competitors in these events, probably due to the massive amounts of sponsorships, because, you know, that's how motorsports work. Filthy lucre. Being the biggest name in anything sports related brings with it fame. And fame brings lots of merchandise. Okay, maybe not like, I don't know, bog snorkeling or disc golf, but most sports, yes. It was peak Americana. US-American stores were awash with t-shirts and toys of Bigfoot and some of his competitors. There was even a cartoon miniseries by Sumbo Animation with, get this, a main character who drove Bigfoot called Yank Justice. Oh dear God, Yank Justice. Yee-haw, my name's Yank Justice and I'm gonna marry my sister cousin and we're gonna have lots of web-footed children. There were video games too. We're gonna have a look at the first of these ones in a minute, that came out at the peak of the lumbering conveyance's popularity. But there were others too that came out afterwards. Microsoft released the Monster Truck Madness series throughout the 1990s, and you could get those titles on the PC and the N64. Bigfoot Collision Course was a Zoo Games 2008 release that came out on the Nintendo DS, the Nintendo Wii, and PCs. But grab yourself a hot dog and take a seat in the arena filled with mud, because we're going to be having a look at the first of these games. Bigfoot saw a release exclusively to US shores in July 1990. Perhaps it didn't get a release over here because, I don't know, Acclaim were worried there was a shortage of Sister Warriors in Europe. Well, I can tell them this is unfounded. All you have to do is go to Crawley in Sussex. You'll see plenty. It was programmed by Beam Software for persistent botherers of 80s Nintendo hardware, Acclaim. Beam were formerly Melbourne House, who gave us that cheeky beggar Horace, amongst other delights on 8-bit micros. As Beam and Laserbeam Entertainment, they would make a mixed bag of products for Nintendo machines of the era, such as Star Wars, niche sports titles like Aussie Rules Football and International Cricket, The Hunt for Red October, and The Punisher for the NES, but they would also go on to make excellent games for the Super Nintendo like Shadowrun, Smash TV, and True Lies. BigFoot sees you steering the unwieldy beast on a pan-American adventure of greasy axles, greasy burgers, and possibly greasy perverts from LA to New York. You'll be tasked with creating huge furrows in car, stadia, foliage, and probably some unfortunate local dogs that have strayed onto the courses. You have a race in each location and then a two-heated event that involves a variety of different hick wonderment, including trucks from pulling trailers, wading your fat rubbers through mud, climbing hills, and just making a general nuisance of yourself. If you fancy competing against another like-minded petrolhead with a love of massive wheels, this game lets you indulge your two-player big-footed thrills. I'm putting big-footed thrills in speech marks, because the game isn't that good. The race sections of the games are always the same sort of thing. You're in a chaotic race up the screen with your otherly coloured monster truck opponent, all of which have manly tough guy 80s destruction-y names. You tear from one muddy end to the other, all viewed from the eye of an all-American bald eagle, struggling away with the crazy controls as your huge sprite is buffeted around the lumpen disorganised course, collecting power-ups like nitros, opponent-damaging buzzsaws, repair kits and cash. If you lose, it might not be game over, and indeed you may end up in better shape than the winner. If, of course, you've prudently collected enough repair kits and, most importantly, the $dollar on your way to the finish line. You stay alive by not going bust. If you crash, you get a fiscal penalty, and if you can't pay, you're done. Game over. How very Horace goes skiing of you, Beam. A nod to your past success. It's bizarre, this level. It feels all skew-if, and only a well-timed nitro we'll see you grab that win bonus, as the game follows Micro Machines-esque rules of keeping the participants on the same screen, and that sneaky fiend will be blasting his nitro like a Billy-O when the finish line is in touching distance of his big fat wheels. The other part of the game is where it all goes even more odd. The events are viewed from a sideways point of view, with chonkers car sprites jumping up and down in the manner of a toddler on Christmas morning on their parental bed. It is these sequences where the variety should come in, but doesn't. Climbing mountains, dragging hefty truck trailers, and doing assault courses sounds pretty varied, but it sure as heck ain't, boy. The controls are different from the race part of the game, and unexpected. Yes, the perspective has shifted, but the buttons suddenly change. And not in a good way. The split screen here, with two competitors racing, it's all very track and field, isn't it? And surprisingly, that's how it controls. In Konami's athletic simulator, it makes sense. The left and right alternating taps reflect the pounding of feet against clay, and you get bloody tired doing it, you know, like an athlete or something. But in this game, you're a middle-aged overweight man with a likely sore ass behind a wheel. I don't necessarily think it makes sense. I think if these controls were just for the tractor pull, where the car that gets the furthest wins, it would make some sense. Oh, BigFoot here is sweating his pistons off, that great metal lump. None of these events are particularly well handled, and there's also the complications of damage sustained and the risk of burning out your engine. I'm basically power wanking a controller here. I've not got time to look at the engine energy bar, thanks. Some of the later ones go on for way too long as well, and you'll likely injure yourself. And the old tennis elbow jokes may come out again if you suddenly don a bandage from your fevered car steering. You just try explaining this one away as you playing a driving game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah, sure, a driving game, sore arm, righto. You will damage your car in the races and these events, and if you can't max out your health on parts of the car in the upgrade garage between each event, you may end up at a disadvantage in the following race. This usually ends up as a war of attrition between you and the other touring motor, and if they run out of money, they'll get replaced by another middle-aged fella with too much time and money and his enhanced ride. In a way, I quite like this bit of the game. It makes sense in real life terms to run out of money instead of lives, and it adds a level of strategy and drama to the game. However, overall, I cannot really recommend BigFoot. Yes, the graphics are okay for the NES, but it's stodgy, it's fairly short-lived once you get your head around it, and it will make your thumb and elbow sore. I don't want that, and nor should you. EGM reviewed it in July 1990, and well, all these scores indicate quite rightly that it's a bang average game. One reviewer, because EGM like to have multiple opinions on these sort of things, said of BigFoot, the graphics are adequate, but the play just isn't interesting, even with all these events. Yeah, so if you want to play around in the mud with some trucks on the NES, go and have a look at Ivan Stewart's Super Off-Road Racing instead. It's much better than this. Go on. Next time out, we're going to have a look at Ocean's Mad Balls. Insert my usual sexualised humour joke here. I'm tired. I've been wanking off a controller. So go away. Like, subscribe, and Kay, thanks, bye.